Welcome back. Another fortnight has passed and we get a new rotation of free assets on the Fab marketplace. So to get these assets, as always, we go to fab.com, we go to the limited time free section, and inside of here we find 3 different assets. This time around we have the Magician's Library environment, we have a loot set hand-painted series, and we have a Space Cruiser Defender. So as you can see from these are a little bit different from what we have been getting in the start of the change from Fab. So these are some pretty nice assets and I recommend that you pick them up. We will take a look at them a little bit more in detail, but first we check out how these are actually redeemed. So what you do is you go into here, you pick a license, personal or professional. The short version is essentially I recommend that you pick the professional one. It will fit the most people and there's no reason not to pick it. And then you just buy it now or add to cart and then check out with the assets that you want to have. So that's the entire gist of it, and you get to use these assets for however long you want into the future, as long as you pick them up within these 2 weeks when the next rotation starts. So as long as you get them for free within this rotation, you are allowed to use them forever in whatever projects that you want to use. So let's check this out in more detail. So first off, we have the Space Cruiser Defender by Dexsoft Games. So this is a obviously sci-fi setting. It is an environment of a bunch of different parts that together create this giant spaceship. And as you can see already, you have some moving parts, you have some smaller spaceships. There are things like Niagara effects included in this over here, like the trails. And this is just a pretty cohesive asset put together. It's basically having a bunch of different parts that it has made, and you essentially have something like a starship from Star Trek essentially. So inside here we just passed by a force field and now we're in the hangar bay, and here we have ships in this starship. And a bunch of different controls, and you can see that this person really loves themselves some Star Trek because they are heavily inspired from it. And then just maneuvering through the starship here, you get to crew quarters, so you can have like a bunch of different crew quarters here. You can go in and inspect them. You have like facilities like toilets, showers, beds, seatings, all kinds of stuff. The detail of this and how it's put together is really well done. So just by that nature, it's a really cool asset to have been presented this time around, I feel. Moving around, you can see that we enter some sort of lounge area, and then you have like these doors and the turbo lifts, which are essentially elevators where you can go through different levels. You can go down to things like the hangar bay that we were in, or the engine room, or if we proceed here, we end up on the bridge of the ship. And you can see there's a bunch of different small things going on all over the place. You have all kinds of stuff, and pretty cool use of things actually, because these parts here, like the codes over here and these circles running around in a pattern, along with these, they're all flip books. So they're just 2D planes in an environment, showing off what can be done with some ingenuity. So you can see here, I can just drag them out. So they just together create this whole concept of like a very sci-fi look and feel when it comes to everything. So yeah, that's what you get. You get a large spaceship kind of sci-fi asset in this part. Let's take a look at the overview map, so you can see exactly what kind of pieces and parts do you actually get with this. So you can see here the large sort of chassis area here with the sort of engines and such over here, which sort of create the frame in which you create other things. So it's hollow, and inside of that you can fill it out with passageways, with walkways and tunnels and elevators, and just space it out however you want, and then create the rooms and the places inside of them how you want, with all of these smaller pieces and knickknacks that you get. And you can see that there's a pretty large variety of things that you can make use of here. And then you also have the smaller spaceships that we saw also in the hangar bay. So yeah, pretty cool assets actually. So nice to see that they have been putting some more effort into putting quality assets on Fab. We've had 2 times in a row now that I feel that they have been a little bit of higher quality. Let's look at the next one. So next up we have the Loot Set Hand Painted series. So this is the smallest pack that we get this time around. You can see there's a lot of focus on different kinds of items that fall into the category of loot. So we have some food, we have potions, we have gold, scrolls, goblets, jewels, trinkets, and sacks of, well, probably more food. So you can see that they have a very, very stylized look to them. You won't be able to use this for all kinds of things. So that's a little bit of a limitation here. But yeah, as far as options go, you do get a bunch of different things in this small subset of items that you're actually presented with. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, out of all the assets we get this time around, this one is the smallest. Next up we have the Magician's Library Environment and VFX Pack by Corab Games. So what you get in this pack is essentially this room here, this sort of library, and a few different parts inside of it. One of them being the prominent crystal in the middle, of course, which is clever use of materials. So this crystal over here and the crystal that's red over there in the background and the one that's green over there, they're all the same mesh, but they have different parameters in their material, giving them different visuals essentially. This library in itself is also built up of a few different parts of blueprints to give it some feeling of content and making it look a little bit more alive, and also giving us a point of interest. For example, you have this book here which we can interact with in the ways that we can turn the page here, which consists of a mesh and a page animation essentially that you can customize and have your own information placed on here if you wanted to, for example. You also have things like these books over here. We can look at them in a moment, but you also have this map. This map also being something that you can configure by yourself through some different parameters and such that are available. There are also small things around here, like we have a little pot over here and such. So if we just take a look at the project itself a little bit, that's probably going to be the easiest way to do this. Inside of the project we have a folder called BP. So inside of here you can see that we have a few different categories of items. We have the book generator. The book generators are going to be these things over here. So these are blueprints that essentially control the look and feel of these books here. So you can go and click on a few different parameters here and change some different visuals on the book, and you can go down and change what textures you're gonna have as your covers and the look of the books themselves and the spines, and you can change the number of books that you have in a row if you want to, and their scale and such things. So you have a bunch of parameters available to you to fill out a library like this, which is essentially what all of these book rows consist of. They're essentially just blueprints that are of different settings, randomized to give them a different feel. Moving on, we have the crystals. The crystals are essentially just a simple placeholder blueprint, which has a pretty complex material inside of it so that you can get visuals like this one over here. And you have things like hidden door. So there's a hidden door over here where we can interact with or be present nearby, and it will open up for us and allow us to traverse. So this is that. So it's essentially a mesh using a nice looking dissolved material to get this effect of sort of a hidden passage kind of thing. The interactive book is a blueprint of the book itself and handling its visuals with widgets. We have the painting similarly. We have some lighting here, which is essentially not much in the ways of blueprints. They are more or less just containers for a Niagara visual effect. So in this case over here we have a point light, a Niagara effect, and that's essentially it for a candle flame. So look, let's see if I can get close enough so I can actually show you the visual effect. It's a little bit small. There you go. So it's a visual effect that's very small, and then I'll point light to give it some like sense of if you wanted to cast some kind of light in conjunction with the effect as well, because it is fire after all. And then you have the poison pot, which is again a very simple static mesh with a little bit of a simple visual effect inside of it to give it a little bit more of a lifelike pot-like feeling. So you get a bunch of different blueprints. Most of them are not blueprints but just containers for other things, but you get some fancy visual effects, you get some fancy materials, and you get some blueprints like these books. So all in all, it's just like a pretty well composed asset for creating this sort of library, which is feeling mystical, and yeah. That's essentially all we get this time around. Leave a comment down below if you feel like this is good or bad, or if you like the trend that is currently getting on Fab, which in my opinion seems to be that we're getting a few more interesting assets lately than we have gotten in the past. Anyway, that's going to be all for now. I hope this was useful to you. Keep on learning. Take care. A big thank you to all of you who like, comment, subscribe and share my videos, or through other means support this channel. You are what makes this channel grow and become a resource for other people to learn from.